As I continue to operate and grow my SaaS business, now with 3 successful products and many failed products, I've discovered that there are about 4 rules, which when I follow those rules for myself, it's like I'm operating on easy mode. You gain momentum, you gain paying users, and things go well. The flip side is also true, that if you ignore, or if I ignore those 4 rules, things are just difficult. Getting paying users is a nightmare. Keeping them is even more difficult or impossible. Now, the first rule that I've learned is really super simple and straightforward, but it's one of the others that is so high leverage, and I'll come to it in a minute. It's so high leverage, you could just about ignore all the others and just do that one, and you'd still be fine. So the first rule really is to build inside an ecosystem, and I'll tell you what I mean. As a SaaS builder, as a SaaS founder, as a SaaS seller, as a SaaS marketer, you reach a point, or certainly I've reached a point, where you discover that distribution and getting paying users is actually the job. Building software is now easy, or fairly easy, it's solved, but getting paying users and keeping those paying users, that's the job and that's the work. When you're building inside an ecosystem, and what I mean by an ecosystem, actually I'll give you a simple example. Let's say you're building software for people that operate in the home service industry, let's say carpet cleaners. You're going to build an app, it'll help them reschedule their jobs. That's it. It'll help them avoid that pain of having to pick up the phone and say, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, we need to reschedule our booking. So let's say that's your tool. Let's say that's your software. If you just build that as a standalone product and you just release it into the world and sort of forget about it, you've got a really difficult challenge ahead of you to get paying users and attract those users. How do you find them? What are you going to do? You contact them all and beg them to sign up and get their attention, all of that stuff. The alternative, which is what I'm suggesting here in Rule 1, is the golden solution to solving that one particular problem, is to put that app or to make a companion app to your tool that sits inside a marketplace for a tool that these guys are already using. One that comes to mind is a tool called Jobber. I don't know how many users they have, but let's say they've got 50,000 home services users. Your app sits inside that marketplace. Now you're in an ecosystem with 50,000 users, home services business, you carpet cleaners and pest control guys and whoever else. They're inside there, and every time they use Jobber, they're exposed to that ecosystem of apps that can help them achieve their objectives. Now, I'm certainly not the first person to have raised this. I know Rob Walling has said this previously. I don't know who was the first to say it, but it's just so obvious. If you're inside an ecosystem that already has users, already has eyeballs, already has attention, the distribution challenge is substantially solved for you. Now, if you are a B2B SaaS founder like me, and you don't yet have the amount of paying users, forget the bullshit free ones, but if you don't yet have the paying users that you want, here's what I'll do for you. I'll take a look at your product, I'll take a look at your market, I'll take a look at the positioning overall and, competition, all that shit. And I'll make you a video, one-to-one video, personal, private, it won't be shared online anywhere. And in that video, I'll do exactly the same exercise that I do for paying clients that I work with. And the end result of that video is very, very simple. You'll get at least one, probably 2 or 3, but at least one very specific, actionable thing that you can do over the next 90 days or maybe even over the next 30 days, 60 days to bring in more paying users. Again, we don't give a shit about free users. Anyone will use anything if it's free. We want the ones that pay and keep paying. Now, whether that means you'll go from maybe 0 paying users to 50 paying users, or whether it means you'll go from 300 to 500, I don't know, because I don't know your baseline. But I'll take a look at it for you. If there's a link in the description, if you want to send through the details, I'll do the video, I'll send it back to you. Remember, though, I can only do this while this channel is tiny. People have been saying to me for years, oh, you should make videos, you should... All right, well, I fucking started making videos. So let's see how many people send things through. But if the form is still online, I will do the video for you. So click through to the description, see if you can see the form. If it's there, send it through. I'll take a look. I'll send you back the video. Now, on Rule 2, fundamentally, it's very, very simple. I want to make SaaS products and SaaS tools that help people to solve a pain rather than make a gain. Fundamentally, all human behavior is in pursuit of one of those 2 objectives. It's either avoiding pain or making a gain. And it's been my experience, particularly in SaaS, but humans in general, most humans will do more to solve a pain or avoid a pain than they will do to make a gain. Again, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I know a guy, well, I don't really know him. I met him a couple of years ago, and I've just remembered the example so clearly because it so perfectly goes to this point. So I met a guy who built or developed or created and was selling a software system that helps companies, listed companies, maintain compliance with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It was a very niche technical thing, but basically every publicly listed company, certainly in the US, including their overseas branches and divisions, they have to comply with certain accounting rules. That's a pain, right? So if you're making a tool, making a system, making software that helps them to solve their pain, in that particular case, they must do it. So then it's a question of how do they do it? Do they use your tool or do they use some other tool or something else? But help people solve a pain rather than make a gain. Now, the final point I will make on this second rule is sometimes it's true that the failure to make a gain is so certain and so persistent and so potent that it becomes a fucking pain, right? And then you're solving that pain. But I'm wary of tools and products and solutions that just sell making a gain, because they're the first thing to get cut, first thing to get axed when times get difficult. Now, that flows very nicely into my third rule, which is lock-in. Find a way to get lock-in. And for me, the gold standard, and what I always hold in my mind is I want a tool, I want a piece of software that is so fundamental, so critical, so important to that user's operations or their method of doing business that they would rather pay me than pay their utility bills. So if times got tough, a couple of years' time, they're running their business, things aren't going well, I want to be the last thing to get cut, not the first thing to get cut. And that's a very high bar. I'll accept that. But that's the point. It needs to be a high bar because it's striving for that and understanding that that is the standard that we're looking for, or that I'm looking for anyway. I just need to be thinking about lock-in to make sure that it's not an optional thing. So that's the third rule. Now, the fourth rule, this is what I mentioned a moment ago. You could just focus on this and sort of ignore the others and you'd still be okay. The fourth rule is, I only want to make tools, I only want to make software, I only want to make products for people who live and work online. If your audience or your potential users, if their day-to-day job already involves sitting at their desk using 17 pieces of software and 17 apps for different things, it's not that much of a difficult challenge to become the 18th one, or maybe replace one of the others and be the 17th. And it's also not difficult, or it's not as difficult, to get that person's attention because they're already online. They're already on the receiving end of whatever it is that's happening online. The counterexample that I always give, because it's so obviously ridiculous, it really drives the point home, is let's say you'd theoretically made a fantastic piece of software for lobster fishermen to operate their business fantastically. That's good. Let's say it's a fantastic piece of software, and if they heard about it, they would buy it. The first problem you have, and really the first sell that you have to make before you can even sell the software to them, the first sell that you have to make in that whole equation is you have to sell to them the idea of coming out of their world and entering your world online so that you can show them something or do the pitch or do the call or give them a landing page, whatever you want to do. So getting them to come out of their world into your world online is tremendously difficult. So that's why I say I only want to build tools and I only want to build software for people who are already operating online and are already using tools, because then you just become another tool in the toolbox rather than having to sell the concept of, hey, here's a toolbox that you can carry. So you get the point. So I hope I was able to give you a little bit of value in that video, and I'll see you in the next one.